The way you just told that story is really the way you wrote your whole book, which I think is one of the things I found so charming about the book, is that you totally glossed over the fact that you did arguably the hardest sport climb in the country at that time. And I'm sort of like, oh, the point of the story that you just told was just to explain why you didn't wind up opening a gym in Toronto, and you totally glossed over the fact that you did like the hardest climb in the country. This is Climbing Gold. Part of what I liked about the book so much is because it made me very nostalgic for my childhood growing up as a climber. It's like coming from the same like gym scene and like the grungy, like
Grungy.
the gritty and just like the lifestyle of climbing at that time.
Yeah, it was very like, it felt very hard to talk about it at that time. Like when I told my like family what I was doing with all my spare time, they're like, you're doing what? Where? Is it a club? Are you on a team? Are you climbing
Totally.
Everest? Like, yeah, there was like 5 or 6 climbing gyms in Canada when I started. And and now there's like 130, 140 gyms across Canada and like 650 in the US or something. And so at that time, yeah, it was really like I felt like I was part of this like secret club, this grungy underground fight club type of movement, and
Yeah, yeah, Fight
I,
Club. Yeah, yeah.
I loved it.
Talk about the gym where you started.
Yeah, it's an old like grain mill, and it was like 40-foot ceilings. It was the only one that, only building in, tens of miles that you could actually accommodate a rope climbing gym. And then they put this little bouldering wall in the back under this little like under one of these like silo you know, type of barn, and they just like put plywood up on the walls straight to the framing, and it was curved, which was actually really cool because like gradually as you climbed on this bouldering wall, it got a little bit steeper, and that ended up becoming like, we climbed all these routes, but the setting was always really sporadic, and we trained mostly on this like little climbing wall, and there was like always a group of like 6 or 10 of us, just like it is now, but we were all just a bunch of teenagers, trying to get our angst out and putting on like
Totally.
little tiny holds, and finding things and drilling holes in them and screwing them to the wall, to the plywood, and trying to hold on to them. And we would just do that like 5 6 nights a week and listen to punk rock and
Dude.
you know climb our brains out. It was a good time.
Dude, that's literally the exact same thing that I was doing down in suburban California. Like the same kind of scrappy gym. I mean, like, can you really set the scene for like, I mean, the gym, you say grain silo, but like how scrappy, Because I'm thinking of the gym that I grew up in. It was just like, it's kind of dingy, it's kind of dark, it's kind of like dirty. It's just all
Totally.
like, and especially for people who have started climbing in the last 5 years with modern commercial gyms, they're like so light. They feel like health spas. They're all bougie. You know, like old
Totally.
gyms like seriously felt like Fight Club, where you're going like just to the wrong part of town to go to some like grungy building that's like kind of scary to park, you're like, oh, where am I?
Yeah, I wouldn't be super proud if I showed people like, oh, come to my gym, this is where I hang out, this is where I spend like, you know 20 hours a week. Like, and it was like the air quality is not so good, and it was like, you know they just rolled paint on top of plywood, right? And the plywood wasn't of high quality. It was like chipped, and like you'd get splinters, and like it was just so funny. And they sprayed one wall with concrete to try to create like concrete
Texture,
natural rock
totally.
features. And it was just built from the ground up by a bunch of scrappy carpenters that were climbers, and they're like, let's just do this thing. And there was no regulation, or they just like hung chains from the rafters, and like that was your anchor. And but we loved it. We like totally loved it, and it created a home for a whole bunch of us misfits.
And so you
Yeah.
worked there through your teen years as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I kind of, well, I started like doing birthday parties, you know, doing the pizza thing, belaying birthday parties, scrubbing toilets, whatever it took.
Dude, that's
Roots.
literally exact same thing I was doing. Like exact same. I'm like, oh, I'm playing the birthday party where you're like, raise your feet, you got this, you got it. Come on, raise your feet, you can do it. Raise your feet. Come on, doing great. Keep going. It's like, oh my God, it's like an 8 hour shift of like, raise your feet, you can do it. Come on. I'm like,
The
jeez.
cool part about that job was every once in a while you get this kid who just got it. They just clicked. And that was like, oh my gosh, you got to come try this like 5'10. Like there was
Totally.
always this, like, not every week, but there was like always some standout kid that it was never like the real, maybe like athletic type, but then they just figured it out. It was so cool to watch that. And so I was liked working with those kids, and I'd be like, they wouldn't just do the 5'5", or they just, you know, they would like want to progress in like a 2 hour birthday party session. It was so cool to watch. So yeah, I did all that. And then I started route setting quite a lot. And then I was kind of like assistant manager at one point when I was like 19,
I was like, they made
19,
you the
20.
assistant manager?
Well, like
No wonder it was so scrappy.
yeah, yeah, they didn't have a lot of options back then. Um, no, it was like me and my girlfriend, and I think actually I was like 20, and I tried it for like 6 months, and then we actually wanted to. Yeah, truth. This isn't in the book or anything, but we took a business course that was funded by the government of Canada, like a young entrepreneurs incubator program, and we like worked with a bank, and we raised a bunch of money, and we were gonna like build our own climbing gym at 21, and we were looking for like a town that would hold a gym in the greater Toronto area, which is now like 7 million people or something. And we found Mississauga, and it had the biggest population base. That's what we were going for. And then right before we like pulled the trigger on like launching this like business together, I really wanted to go to Smith Rock and climb Just Do It. It was like my dream climb in 2000. And we went there April of 2001. We drove 50 hours from Toronto to Smith Rock. I
You drove
climbed that
50
route.
hours to go rock
Yeah,
climbing.
totally did.
Dude.
I'll never forget it because I met so many people that like I met Dylan Johnson like in the parking lot of that trip. And I met Yuji Haruyama and Francois Legrand. They came up to me in the parking lot because I had just done Just Do It. And
Oh,
they came and
wow.
asked me for beta. They're like, "Are you the
Dude.
key?" Yeah, it was like the highlight of my life to that point. And after I climbed that route, I was like, I can't move back to Mississauga. Like it's just like a giant suburb of Toronto. And I was like, I can't do it. And so we pulled the plug on all of that. And then my life took another turn,
Yeah,
and I ended up in
radically
Squamish.
turned. I mean,
Totally. Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it's funny the way you just told that story is really the way you wrote your whole book, which I think is one of the things I found so charming about the book, is that you totally glossed over the fact that you did arguably the hardest sport climb in the country at that time, in easier than two of the most famous professional climbers in the world at that time, like Eugene and Francois, who were in the midst of making that film. The was it the professionals that one?
Professionals.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that film, and it's incredible. And they went and did all the hardest routes, and I mean, they're two of the best climbers of their generation, and like incredible climbers. And I'm sort of like, oh. The point of the story that you just told was just to explain why you didn't wind up opening a gym in Toronto, and you totally glossed over the fact that you did like the hardest climb in the country.